My session now, how to run a 1-minute practice. Now this is a real passion of mine at the moment. A guide for physios, chiros, podiatrists, osteopaths, any allied health professional who wants to earn more, work less and enjoy your lives. Because at the moment, I see so many health professionals that aren't doing that. They're getting there early, they're staying late, they're not getting great rewards from their business. It's a real struggle. And I think part of it is they don't have enough systems in the business. So what I've tried to do is pull together a system that'll do that. So this is the 1-minute practice program. My promise to you, stick with me till the end of this presentation and I'll show you the exact 7 systems or 7 secret systems I've used in my businesses. They're the same ones used for my private clients and they're the basis of the 1-minute practice program. And you'll get the exact same things. Now it is not a pitch fest. Having said that, there is no question at about 10 to 7 tonight I will make a presentation to you to get involved in 1-minute practice. There's nothing surer. Because I believe in my product, as should you, and you should believe in your product as well. How's the deal? If I get to the start of my presentation, I'll get you involved and you don't want to hear it, you're not interested, there's a great feed out there, go and grab it, then you don't have to listen to that section. However, if you tune in for the first 50 minutes, you'll get a lot of great value out of this session. Okay, so and I've done this before, I've turned off as soon as someone started to sell me something. You can't think like that. You've got to think, what's the opportunity? What's he teaching me? How can I think deeper into this? And I like when people talk about business and other things, don't think this doesn't apply to me. A very common thing you say is this doesn't apply to me. You've got to change your thought. How does this apply to me? How can this apply to me? How can I use this? And my favourite example of it, those who have heard me speak before, my favourite example was the time I was listening to the guy talk about sharpening the chainsaws. My favourite ever story. I was in this lecture and I don't know why I was there, but the guy was talking about chainsaw sales and he said, I got sick of teaching people how to sharpen the chainsaw, so I videoed it and now I sell the video of the chainsaw selling or sharpening process. Now I don't know why I was in the room, but that comment has made me probably $3 million because now I video everything. I'll think, why don't I video that? You should be doing the same thing. What can you video? What can you produce? It's a product range. So again, think about how you can leverage the information they teach you tonight in your business. Now, how do I know these 7 systems work? Because I've done it in my business. It's the cornerstone of what I do with my coaching programs. Those, a couple of people in my program here, they know it's exactly the same 7 systems I use in my private coaching program. Now, the images that I'll put on the screen here tonight are from inside the 1-minute practice program. Okay? And they look very impressive, but you can do it yourself with Excel spreadsheets. So don't sit there and think, oh, he's just trying to sell me his program. You can do it yourself with Excel spreadsheets. I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't and why we did it for years and it was a pain in the bum, but you can do it with Excel spreadsheets as much as it's painful. So the solution, you have to understand the role of your business, and your role of your business is to give you more life. That's all it's to do. It has to give you more life and not take it away. You have to systematise your business. You have to structure the thing. You can't let it run. If you have to be there all the time, it's not a business at all, it's a job. We know that. You have to ensure compliance. It scares health professionals to put a system in and then enforce it. It's a scare because you think, what if they leave? What if the team get upset? What if they don't do it? What's the solution? You stay all the time and make sure they do it? There's no option to this. There's no solution other than putting the system in and measuring and making sure they're compliant. So you've got to record performance. If you're going to put a system in, record it. And the key word I like to use in all 1-minute practice presentations is certainty. So you need to have certainty that things are happening. One of my mentors, Jim Rohn, you could do worse than follow Jim Rohn. He passed away recently, but an absolute genius. One of Jim's favourite expressions. Successful people spend money to save time. I live by that these days. Well, how much time do we save? We try and think, what can we do to save time in the business? My beautiful wife Helen says, you should do the garden. Oh, darling, I can pay someone to do that. That's not successful use of my time. She said, but you're sitting on your ass watching the television. Yeah, but I'm choosing to do that. You know, you've got to get real. But you've got to think, what can you outsource? How can you generate other people to do these things for you? So think about what you can spend to save time. So the 7 systems. These are the 7 exact same systems I use in my private coaching client program. First one, you should write these 7 things down. If you write nothing else down tonight, write down these 7 things. System 1, you must have a new patient register. Now those that have heard who's got practice acceleration program here? Okay, you know about the new patient register. It's the way you track that everything happens. And it started out in my business as an Excel spreadsheet. And I thought, what things do I want to make sure happen in my business each and every day? Now think about your business. What are the critical things or the critical procedures or steps that you want every new patient to go through in your business? What would they be? Like when you think about it, what's in your business? What has to happen to every new patient? Come on, what do you got? Anyone? So they have to fill in their paperwork. So they've got to fill in their paperwork. And there might be a specific part of that that you really want them to fill in, but sometimes they don't. So rather than just having a blank form come back, and you guys do it all the time, oh, they don't fill that in. So you've got it there, but they don't fill it in. You've got to make sure if that's the important step, you've got to put it in a new patient register and say, did they fill in that question? Otherwise, you're just letting these things slide. So what else you got to test? What else has to happen in your business? Daniel?
Where they came from.
So what's their referral source? You've got to have, and obviously, where do they come from? What was their referral source? What else? That's not just information, but it might be what steps.
How did they find out about you?
How did they find out? So referral source, similar. Yeah, what else?
I think they've got to be greeted with a smile first of all, because they come in, sometimes they're just given a form and off you go, sit down and fill it in.
They've got to be greeted with a smile. Now, I haven't seen that on a new patient register, but you think about, well, should I put in greet patient with a smile? And do you have to complete that checkbox? If your team aren't doing that, I'd be putting it in. Warm, sincere greeting. Think about what are the things you want to happen to this person? What are the key steps? And once you've got that, it might be, for example, they were told about the guarantee. They were told about the booking procedure. They were told about, they filled in their new patient agreement, which is like a contract. They're accepting they're going to pay at the time of consult. They know the cancellation charge. That's an important part of that induction process. See what I'm getting at? Did they get a new patient welcome folder? Did they get something that welcomes them to the practice? Did they get a welcome phone call? Did they get a welcome email? So what are the steps that you want this person to go through in their dealings with your business? You have to work out what they are, put them in a structured sequence, and then make sure those things happen. And it happens on a new patient register. Here's an example of a new patient register from inside 1 Minute Practice. The typical headings that we like inside a 1 Minute Practice. So we've got here the date they came in, the location if you're multi-location practice, the last name, the first name of the patient, the therapist name. So what was the therapist who treated that person? I love that column. What's the admin person's name? So who was the admin person responsible for that patient? Why do I want to know that, Craig? Why do I want to know the admin person's name for that patient?
Just in case, well, the therapist has to do their checklist and the admin person has to do their bit as well. They're equally as important as...
Yeah, they're equally important. If I'm wanting all these people to get a folder, to be told about the guarantee, that's all part of admin. Now, if I know that Mary's not doing it, but Joan is, I know I've got a problem with Mary. So you've got to know these things. If you get a bit further down the track, did they get a new patient folder, for example? Did they get a new patient agreement, which all of your patients must get? They must get an agreement. The terms and conditions of doing business with you. They'll be on time. There's a cancellation policy. They'll refer their friends. What are the expectations you have of that patient? You've got to have these things in it. I love it when you get down to here. Those that have done any of my material before, I want every new patient of any business I'm involved in to get a written plan, a written recommendation, a written something in their hand to take out to the front desk about their booking status. I've pushed it for years. I love that step. There's not a business I get involved in that I don't put that in, an action plan of some description. If you're worried about it, it might just be a booking slip. It might just be how many times a week for how many weeks. It's like twice a week for 2 weeks, 3 times a week for 6 weeks. What's the recommendation? Because what's the question of death that I'm trying to avoid at the front desk? The absolute question, if I walk into a practice and I hear it, I go ballistic. What's the question of death?
When do you want to come back?
Yeah. When do you want to come back? Are you rebooking? If the patient is standing there and the admin person, are you rebooking? You know you've got a problem in your business. Since when did the patient determine that? How long did they go to university to determine they needed how many treatments? They have no idea. That's your job. And while ever it's that dialogue's happening, that's costing you a lot of money, but it's also reducing the productivity and the effectiveness of your business. So you've got to have an action plan, even a booking slip, something to take to front desk, that then they know the bookings. Because then if you've got that, we can say how many consults were on the plan. If the plan was twice a week for 2 weeks, 4. So we've recommended 4. Then, how many future bookings were made? If I recommended 4 and they made 4, can you see that's green? That's a good result. See, but that's not happening in most businesses. It's left to chance by front desk. It's left to negotiation. It's all over the place. It can't happen by negotiation. Some other ones as we move forward. I love a column, consults in first 30 days. One of my favourite spots on a new patient register. How many consults did that person have in the first 30 days? Now, in podiatry, for chronic patients, we put that out a bit longer because they come back less frequently. But in most acute conditions, most of the fun happens in the first 30 days. So if I recommended twice a week for 4 weeks, I'd expect them to have 4. So the 4 was recommended. I'd expect 4 to be booked. And I'd like to think after 30 days, they've at least had 4. Can you see if at least I've got something to look at that I can draw my eye to and think, hang on, there's a problem with this business. And I see it all the time. And if you aren't there, you can't do this. The whole idea of 1 minute practice is to be there without being there. This is what this is all about. So you've got to know appointments in 30 days. Now, if I've got a 440, that might be just a new patient. So in 30 days, if that's a 441, you think, hang on, they've recommended 4, they've booked 4, everything looked rosy, but they only came in once. What's the problem? And I can then find out what happened for that patient. But can you see I've got certainty now that I know what's going on? You've got to have that in your business. And I love this one. Feedback form, yes or no? You've got to get a feedback form. Did they get a follow-up call, yes or no? Just following up how you went with the treatment today, make sure everything's okay. Did they score on their feedback score, 0 to 10 ratio? Was their email added to the database? Did they get a welcome letter? Just think in your business, what are the sequential steps? Put them into your new patient register and you've at least got some control over your business. Now, this radically changed for us when we started doing this from an Excel spreadsheet. We took it to 1 minute practice because as soon as you recommend 6 and the person doesn't book the required number, it goes a different colour. Now, I've got admin team members now of my private clients who are terrified of the number not being green because the therapist recommended their job is to make sure the number matches. So it makes a massive difference to your business once you add colour to it. If I've got someone who's recommended 3, they've booked none, they've had none in 30 days and they've given you a 3 out of 10, you want to ring that person. But can you see, you wouldn't know that unless you had something like this, a new patient register in place. Does that make sense? I'm telling you, I have not been in a business or worked with a business that doesn't put one of these things in. So you've got to have a new patient register of some description of your business, even if it's only 3 or 4 steps. The first thing you should do after the night is do that. Make sense? All right. Secret system 2. Great.
With this system, is this integrated in any practice management software as yet?
No.
Or?
It's a standalone, and as is your new patient register, should be a standalone document on your computer. Yeah. It's on our cloud, but it's a standalone document. And there's a reason why we didn't personally put it in with pre-MS at the moment. Typically, we've found that the therapists think the 1 minute practice is more about them. Whereas the practice management software is about the business, it's about the bookings, it's about other things that aren't about them. So it's kind of an ownership thing to a certain extent. We may look at integrating, but not at the moment.
So
but
essentially they could book ahead and then you put those numbers in and then they could cancel some down the track.
Possibly. Yeah. Well, that does. If we look at the consults booked in 30 days, you'll see if they came in or not.
Yeah.
But I'll talk about afterwards. But in terms of integration at the moment, it's a standalone program. Mm-hmm. But if nothing else, guys, put it as an Excel spreadsheet. Put something that you can at least track, did these things happen with a yes or no. The next thing you need.
Just the new patient register, it's just that, are they just the new patients or every patient that comes in that day?
It's a new patient register for exactly that reason.
So it's only the new
It's the new patients, because that's really when you've got maximum control. You want things to happen, when are the steps happening? It's most powerful in the first 30 days or so. If you're trying to use this to track something 90 days down the track, you're going to struggle. But keep it tight. What are the key things that happen in that first initial period that you want all your patients to have done? That's where you put it in your patient register. All right. Secret system 2, you've got to have somewhere to record your daily data. So we have a system in 1 minute practice. Secret system 2 is daily data entry. Think in your business, what are the key numbers you want to track? What are the key things you want to measure on a daily, weekly, monthly basis in your business? As I'll tell you now, the best and most successful businesses know their numbers the best. You can almost determine how good a health business owner is by saying, show me your numbers. Those that haven't got any numbers, they're in all sorts of trouble. And one of the major things I do with my private clients getting towards the end of the month, show me your numbers. Drives them crazy. Show me the numbers. Because they need someone to keep them on track as it just falls over. So think in your business, what are the key numbers you want to measure every day? Now your practice management system might do some of this. It might be a daily report. But it shouldn't take you too long though. So don't get carried away with 50,000 things. It shouldn't take you more than 2 or 3 minutes per therapist or your admin manager to go back to yesterday and just get the key numbers in. You think for yourself, what are the key numbers you should measure or know every day in your business? What are the key metrics?
Number of new patients.
So how many new patients you saw that day? Yeah, what else? Total consults you did. Sorry? Yeah. How many were booked? Yeah. How much you billed from the stock? How much stock you sold? So the key metrics, you need, and don't get too carried away, what are the key numbers? Because from what we've just done so far, the new patient register and the daily data entry are the key collection points for your KPIs. That's where you collect your data for your key performance indicators. Give an example of one. Here's daily data entry inside 1 minute practice. Date, staff name, location. Again, don't get caught up and think Paul's trying to show me 1 minute practice. You can do it on a spreadsheet. It's a pain in the bum, but you can. Now the first 3 columns here are very important. Total hours, consulting hours and patient hours. One of the key numbers I've always wanted in my businesses is a thing called utilization rate. I want to know how fully booked each of my therapists on a percentage basis. I've used 4 different practice management software systems so far, and I'm yet to find one that does that accurately. And it's not the PMS's fault, by the way. You need a practice management software system. The problem is that the data's not put in right, or someone's on holidays and it's not the right colour. It just mucks up. So when you look at the data, it's never right. Frustrated the hell out of me. So I made an edict. I wanted my admin team to go back every day, look at yesterday's diary and tell me manually how many hours that therapist was in there. So total hours they were there. How much have I got to pay them for, which is my total hours. Consulting hours, how many of those hours were they available to see patients for? Because they might have had an in-service or a meeting, which again, that's where your utilisation rate gets caught out sometimes in PMS. So I want to know the total hours they were there and what they want to be paid for, how many hours they are available to see patients, and how many hours they spent seeing patients. So they've been there for 8, they had 6 available hours, but they only filled it with 4. Can you see then I'll get an accurate utilisation rate? Give you the value of that number. When it gets to 75%, so when the number consistently is 75%, I'm starting to think I need another therapist. How do we do it now? We look at the book, oh, they're pretty full, we should get someone else. We don't have any, there's no measurement, that we just fly by the seat of our pants and think someone rings up, oh, we've got a spot, we're pretty full. You can't run a business like that. So you've got to get your numbers right. You might want to track the number of DNA appointments. How many people didn't show up that day? Because you might have a therapist you're worried about who's underperforming, and you then go on a do not attend drive to make sure it doesn't happen. But if you measure it, you can manage it. Okay? A couple of other things in your register. Might be number of cancelled appointments. You might want to track wasted therapist hours. I think you have to track billings and you have to track stock sales. So you've got to track the key things you want to measure. How many consults they delivered, how many new patients they saw, how many orthotics they sold. Because once you've got the numbers, you can then set a goal, which then means you can measure it and track it and train it. Okay, so think in your business, from your new patient register and from your daily data entry, what are the key things you want to track? And don't get too caught up in having 50,000 of them. Pick 3 to 5 key ones and drive those ones, measure those, and you're in business. And that, as I said, that can be a spreadsheet. But don't, and if your practice management software system does it, great, print the report every day and just use the numbers. But just make sure it's right when you check it. Just have a look at it and make sure. So that's secret system 2, daily data entry. Everyone with me so far? Who's currently got 2 out of 2? People have done the practice acceleration program? People can, okay, so you're 2 out of 2. Profit and loss. I love accountants. I do. One of my best mates is an accountant. God bless him. Problem with accountants, they have a different role to you. I know the job of my accountant is to reduce my tax. That's all I want him to do. I want him to find innovative ways to make sure I don't pay too much tax. So I don't want to rely on his numbers to tell me how my business is going. I'm looking for deductions. I'm looking for dodgy things. I'm doing whatever I can. Oh, dodgy is a terrible word. Let's retract that. I'm looking for innovative ideas on how to reduce my tax. Now, if you've got your spouse doing some, on the payroll, doing some dodgy things, not really coming to work, but they're on the payroll, and you're claiming that in your business expenses, and your accountant gives you your profit and loss, can you see that really doesn't help you run your business? It helps you reduce your tax, but it doesn't help you run your business. So there are two different roles here. So what I want in the system, what I always wanted, was a real-life comparison of my income to my expenses. I wanted to know in the real world what I billed each month compared to what I spent each month. And that's what I wanted. That was the numbers that I wanted to get. My accountant couldn't do it for me because that's not their job to do it. If you are a public listed company, if you're Qantas, yeah, you can do that. But for small health business owners, it's not the same numbers. And I get frustrated. Health business owners say, I say, how's your numbers going? Well, the accountant's sending me the data next week and I'll know then. And that happens every year. Once a year, they get some numbers from the accountant. You cannot run your business like that. It's a recipe for disaster. So what you have to do, your profit and loss has to be billings, so monthly calendar billings, compared to monthly calendar expenses. Keyword being calendar. And it'll fall over if you're using MYOB on a weekly pay system. So if you'll put him in, if you pay every Monday, for example, there'll be days when you'll have months where you have 5 pay weeks and some you have 4. Straight away, your profit and loss is useless. Because you won't, why is this March not as good as last March? Because you've got 5 pay weeks maybe, it's just not going to be the same. So you can't do it like that. So we had to break down, and we do break down in the systems we work with, what is your wage on a calendar month basis, which means every 4 weeks or so, you'll have to break the week up. You'll have 3 days go to this month for the team and 4 days go to the other month. You've got to just break it up. Now, your software won't do that. But you've got to do it on that basis. You've got to balance the income with the expenses on a calendar month basis. Those that are paying monthly, brilliant. If you're doing a monthly pay based on a calendar month billing, that's tremendous because you've got a straight number you can plug in. But if you're not doing that, you're in trouble. So don't wait for your accountant to give you the numbers, and this will increase control of your business massively. I personally now can't wait for the new month to start because I want to see the numbers. My team knew when I had the physio clinics, the first week of the month, I want the numbers. They knew I wanted the numbers. Okay? They want to very quickly see how the thing's going. You can't run your business if you don't know this. Here's an example of profit and loss inside 1 minute practice. Can you see from what we did so far, the daily data entry, if you're putting in billings, it's already calculating it for you. You're calculating stock, and if you stock sales and consult sales, they're adding it anyway. So you're already calculating it. But even if all you do is a monthly report out of your practice management software system for your monthly billings and put that in, you've at least got a monthly billing number. Everyone with me so far? Right, what are we going to know in a P&L? Consult billing for most health businesses, so it's consult billing, it's stock billing, which give me a total gross income. So we're talking about billing. We're not talking about cash, we're talking about what did you bill? What's going to come in? You're expecting it, you'll get paid hopefully. It might be down the track and you'll get a cash gap, but at least what are you billing? You then have to think about any other income you got. Was it a room rental? Was it some other thing that came in that adds to your total gross? We then want to know, can you see what I did before with our daily data entry? We're calculating how many hours each therapist or admin person did, or we've set them up on percentages because it's calculating daily what wage we owe to them on a daily basis. Because you want to get your admin wage on a monthly basis. What's the admin team costing you per calendar month? If you've got to split it on the 5th week, split it. But you want to know that. You want to know what your therapist wage was for the calendar month. So how much did you pay your team? And you've also got to know what your owners were, what you did in the business during that month consulting wise. I talk in my programs about owner consulting wage. Now, it's not the wage you tell your accountant. It's not the whatever we can do to maximise the tax deduction. But what I like to use for my guys is think about a number, an hourly rate or a percentage that you will have to pay to replace yourself. So I can get another therapist to do my job for $45 an hour. Then you work out how many hours you did for the month, multiply by 45, that's the owner consulting wage. Can you see why the accountant doesn't even look at this? Because it's nothing to do with the accountant. It'll let me know how much consulting you did as a practitioner during that calendar month. Is everyone with me? Who's doing this? Some diehards. Darren, why the hell aren't you doing that? How many times have I got to tell you this? Fair dinkum. All right. What you get there, now the power of this though follows on a step further, and I love this. Once you've got all the information, you put your expenses in, so your rent, your telephone, which should be calendar month. Can you also get, if you bought a bed, say you went and bought a big item, say you went and bought something from DGA for 10 grand or whatever. What's your most expensive product, guys? How much?
Shockwave.
How much? Okay, so 15 grand. You get carried away, you buy the Shockwave, which you should do. 15 grand, you then put that in and you say, well, that's an expense for the month of September. And for the rest of your natural life, every September, you'll look at September and think, what happened there? That was crap. Because you've allocated all in one month. Spread that expense over 3 years, 5 years, amortisation. If you buy a big something, spread it over the months. If you send your guys on a training course for a couple of grand, spread the expense over 12 months because you're going to be gaining value of it over 12 months. So you spread the expense. Don't put all in one hit because it'll throw your profit and loss, which then means you can't balance the books and know the numbers well enough. The key thing here though, once you've done the numbers in here, you want to get admin wage, therapist wage, owner consulting wage and total wage bill as a percentage of gross. You've got to know these numbers as a percent of gross. You've got to know your rent mortgage as a percent of gross and your other clinic costs as a percentage of gross. Because, Craig, have a spell for a second.
So no, with wage, do you add just in that bit, do you add the super and workers'
Yeah,
comp?
so I typically might, my program, I'll preferably add 16% to whatever they're getting to cover for sick leave, holiday pay, superannuation. So I'll add that on top because that's part of my wage. Yeah. Now, can I get to you in 1 second? The numbers we want, when you do this in your business, you want to have an admin wage that's less than 10% of gross. Look at your admin expenses, add them up over the calendar month. It's got to be 10% or less. I've got a client at the moment, his admin wage as a percentage of gross is over 25%. You can't run a business with that sort of number. There's nothing left over for you. And who's heard of a thing called staff creep? These staff aren't creepy, but some of them are. Staff, you guys, look at yours. Staff creep is where you've had one admin person on and then you get someone in for an extra half a day and then they stay and then someone else comes in and before you know it, you've got another 28 hours of admin, they just creep. And before you know it, your admin wage is out of control. You wouldn't know that unless you knew your numbers. You need to, how can you cut it back? So it's got to be less than 10% of gross. Therapist wage less than 40%, which is why if you're paying guys percentage deals on 50, 60, you are going to struggle to make profit. But that comes back to supply and demand of labour and some other things we'll talk about later on tonight. Owner consulting wage varies because it depends how much consulting you're actually doing. If I'm working with you, what do I want that to be? If I'm your consultant, Narelle, what's that going to be for you? Zero. I want to reduce that to nothing. I don't want you consulting. It's the ultimate ideal for me as your coach. Why is that? Why don't I want you seeing patients? Daniel, why not?
You spend more time on marketing and running the business.
Because the money is in the marketing. I want to get you off the tools. What also does it give you? A life. Gives you freedom. So when you start with looking at these numbers, you've got to think, well, if I'm billing this amount and my owner consulting wage is 80% of it, you've got a job. How can I then start dropping that down, getting some other people involved? The other thing I've found, you have to do this to convince health business owners they don't have to be there all the time. You have to do this analysis for them to show them, look, 12 months ago you were doing all the work yourself and you made this profit. Now you're doing 10 hours a week and you're making more profit. Can you see what we did? Otherwise they don't get it. Health professionals are billing for time creatures. So I can't be making money if I'm not there. It doesn't make any sense. It's the wrong way to think about your business. Other thing, rent less than 10% of gross. If you're looking at a premises, can I bill enough to get my rent at a 10% or less number? I use that all the time when I'm looking at premises. If I'm thinking, do I take this space on? Do I take more rooms? I'm working with a client at the moment who's trying to he's moving to a bigger space, wants to know how much space he needs. Well, let's count up the rooms. What can we bill? What's his rent going to be? Will it fall in this criteria? He's got 3 toilets in the joint. Then, mate, what are you doing? You've got a health clinic. Do we need 3 toilets? Let's get rid of 2 of them, put another treatment room in. Now, what's the billable space in your practice? So you've got to know your numbers. Which leaves you other expenses, less than 10%, hopefully. Podiatry is a bit higher because you guys have more consumables. as is optometry. Okay, so that will depend. But most health businesses should try and get under 10%, which if all things go well, should give you a profit of 20 to 30% of gross. I used to say to my guys, if my business isn't doing this, I'm going to do something else. It's got to produce these numbers for me. Does that make sense? You have to know those numbers, guys. Every month you should be sweating on them. What are the numbers I need to measure in my business? Am I over admin? Do I need more staff? I'm working with another client at the moment in New Zealand who's got a clinic she's over 90% utilisation in her practice. I said, we need more staff for a start, but we need to work out, I think she waited too long. So you would want to know at what time is she maximally profitable. It might not be at 90% utilisation. It might be at 70%. It might even be at 60%. But you've got to know your numbers to work out when am I maximally profitable. And that will give you one idea. So utilisation rate, profit, you'll then know your numbers from there. Is everyone happy with P&L? Okay, every month you've got to do it religiously. You can't put your head in the sand over this, you've got to do it. Having done the first three, you've got to then know your KPIs. You have to have key performance indicators. One of my favourite expressions, what you can measure, you can manage. You'll be staggered at how quickly your rebookings increase the moment you put in a new patient register and said to your admin team, we're just tracking how close the actuals are to the recommendations. That's all you've got to say. The fact that you are tracking it, it will improve. You don't have to train them. You don't have to do anything. You say, I just want to see how close you are to that. And Mary's really good at this, as you then disappear out the back. You plant some seeds. Again, you can get better with colour code and other things, but at least they know what's expected of them. Because what you can measure improves. Can you see from what we've done so far, our daily data entry and new patient registers should give us a lot of this data. It automatically populates to your KPIs. So go back to where we started the presentation. What are the key numbers you wanted to measure? What are the key things you put in your new patient register? That gives you your KPIs. It'll give you the numbers. Here's some examples. Pick the therapist. So we picked some of the things we selected to have in our new patient register and daily data entry. Consult number. How many new patients they saw. What was the new patient rebooking average? What was the average of those recommendations? So Brian's recommending 6 visits for every new patient, but John over here is recommending 2. What's the difference? It's the same database of people. What's the difference? Okay, we fall in the trap of just letting that slide. Oh, he's just better than that one. You can't let that happen in your business. You don't let things happen just because that's the way it is. I hate that expression. What can you do? It's just the way it is. No, it's not. What % follow-up? So what percentage of people had a follow-up consultation? That's a great number to know. What was your utilisation rate? How many products did you sell? Did they complete their daily checklist, if that's what you want to measure? Did they complete the new patient action plan? That has to be 100%. If you guys put in an action plan like a written recommendation, it's not negotiable. Every new patient gets one. End of story. What did I say to you guys, Darren, at Get Active? So the only person who doesn't get an action plan during the consultation or at the end of the consultation is the person who has unfortunately died during that consult. Everyone else gets one. It's not negotiable. You can't, and some people say, oh, I'll just get the juniors to do it. Wrong answer. Everyone does it. Who's read Gerber's E-Myth? Remove discretion at the operating level of your business. It's not negotiable. Everyone does it. And this is a tip for you guys. If you put 1 or 2 of these systems in, the first time you see someone doesn't do it, go ballistic. And you've got to be all over it. If they know you haven't looked at it for a few days, the mice will get all carried away. It'll be a waste of time. You've all done it. You've all tried to put systems in, and we've done it in businesses, and we go back, how's that follow-up phone call system going? Well, I think they're doing it. I'll check it out. So they don't know. There's no certainty, and lo and behold, not everyone's getting it. You've got to get better than that, guys. Now, if you're smart, colour helps. I'll go back one slide. You see on here, you then pick a goal. So you've got to also set a goal for your guys. So if you set 100% new patient action plan completion, you might recommend they all get 4 consults. So you've got a goal. Every new patient should get 4 on their plan, whatever your recommendation is. Set the goal inside 1 minute practice, and then it gives you a colour-coded result. The therapists see this and they're saying, I'm red, which is not good. I'm green, I'm great. So Dave over here, he had a goal of 20. and he's made 25. As soon as he makes the goal, he turns green. Now, I learned years ago, if you colour code things, it makes a big difference. So think about you. What things can you measure in your business? What's the average? And I like to put this all on the sheet where all the team can see each other's results. When we started 1 Minute Practice, someone said, "Oh, can we have our own one?" No. Because I want you to see how you're going compared to everyone else. Who's the person that's whinging about it? The person down here. And that's classically it. I mean, J-Mo, one of my favourites, I remember going to a sports physician once and he said, when Brufen came out and it was a red tablet, the sports physician said, these have worked the house down since we started using these red ones. Nothing different other than the tablet colour. There's a lot to be said for the power of colour in these things. So you've got to know what that is. So what are your KPIs? This is an owner dashboard inside 1 Minute Practice. So if you're to the right of the line, you're doing well. If you're to the left of the line, you're not doing well, based on your KPIs. Of your numbers. It just populates the data and you click and look at it and see how it's going. As I said, everyone needs to see each other's results. We don't have them seeing the financial numbers, but they do see the consult numbers, the recommendations, the percentage, the stock sales, things that aren't financial are in there. My question to you, do your team know their KPIs and do you have any? Hopefully you do. If not, again, you're playing a game without a scorecard. You just can't do it. Now, as I said, this has to happen too from day one. The day that person starts in your business, you have the KPI discussion. Just to let you know, this is what we expect of you. This, and this from the day they arrive. Even from the interview, I'm setting it up. I just say, no, we track this very heavily. You'll be expected to do this, this, and this. If you come into our business and not expected to be measured, you're in the wrong place. We attract people, in our business, we attracted the business types who wanted to learn this stuff. If they're not going to be into it, they're in the wrong place. So make sure they all know their KPIs from day one. And at least review it monthly. You might do it weekly if you like, but have a KPI meeting once per month at least. Sit down with them, preferably the first week of the month, go over last month's data and have a chat to them about it. How'd you go? Did you reach your target? Did you reach your goal? Blah, blah, blah. Very important part of it. Who's currently having a monthly KPI review meeting with each of their team members? Big hands. Shame on the rest of you. Okay. I'm very strong on this. You'll get to the stage where you'll get months down the track, and it happened to me. You get months down the track and someone leaves because they're disgruntled or they haven't got your attention, and if you have had this meeting and the other thing of that meeting is a question like, is everything okay? Can we help you in any way? How's everything going? It's just a touch base meeting. It's not a number crunching, beating up meeting. There's also a bit in it for them. Stay in touch with your team. System 5, this is when the fun starts. Once you've got the internal things happening, you then start marketing the thing. The money is in the marketing. It's the most important section of all of them. And I upset a lot of health professionals. Craig's here. Sorry, Tim. Okay, while Craig's here. I've used this on you. I'll do it again. I love picking on you. Craig is dead set the worst therapist I've ever seen. Sorry, mate. He's a lemon. He is a dud. He just has no skill, no confidence, hopeless. Tim's a genius. Tim is a superstar practitioner. He can fix anything. Now, is that a marketing advantage? Has Tim got a marketing advantage over Craig? You want to say yes, don't you? You say, of course it's a marketing advantage. It's not. It's a retention advantage. So it'll help Tim retain more. But before I go and see either of these guys, how do I know who's good and who's not? Unless I'm getting a direct word of mouth referral, which is slow. My point is I can market Craig to be a genius even though he's a lemon. I can get him, he might be a great public speaker, so I can put him up in front of the crowd and he can speak. I can get an ebook written for him. I can put him on YouTube. I can make him a sensation by marketing, even though he's hopeless. See what I mean? Marketing, clinical excellence is not a marketing advantage, it's a retention advantage. Unless you want to spend 5, 10 years building an osmotic business, which is what most of you do. If I said to you, what is your most common or most successful marketing media, most of you would say it's word of mouth. And those who have done my boot camp, I hate that. Because it basically means the subtitle SBS says, I don't have a marketing plan. That's what it's saying, because you're just letting it happen osmotically. You have to market your business. But if you're caught up doing all the other internal things, there's no energy left to do it. So you've got to get out of your business to market the thing. That's where the money is. And it's okay if you're a sole trader. Those that are the sole traders here, you can get away with doing it yourself and being the clinical expert. You should have a good business anyway. But they're the people who say, I got the other guy in, I'm full and they're quiet. I'm full, but they just can't fill their books. They're the same people, what's happening? You need a marketing plan when you get the other people on, because that's when you need a marketing advantage. 3 M's of marketing: message, market and media. You've got to get all 3 right. And if word of mouth is your major thing, you've got some problems. Get better than that. And you've got to test and measure it. Here's a marketing plan inside 1 Minute Practice, but just systematise it. What are the key things you do now that work well for you? Marketing plan, the event date, the type of event. Is it an internal event, an external event, or is it a lecture? What is it, or a special event? What was the title of the event? What was the date? What was the topic? Who did it? Don't leave it to chance. Oh, I should do more marketing. Oh, the guy with the hats arrived to buy the hats. Should I do that? Or I haven't done marketing for a while. I should do that. That's not the way to run your business. It's got to be strategic. Some other things. Was it completed? Who completed? What were the results? You've got to test everything. Let me give you the key tips to marketing first up. Go to your new patient register and write down your top 5 referral sources. Look through the list, because I love doing this for all new businesses. Go to your new patient register. Where did your current people come from? Write down the top 5. Then you work really hard on getting those top 5 better. If that's the first thing you do, you're in front. Because it's so much easier to increase conversion than to start from scratch. You've already got a referral relationship. You've got something that's already working a little bit. Ramp up that, increase the conversions. That's the number 1 tip for you. The other 2 best things you can do. You go to your new patient register, look at a referral source, scroll down the list. Oh, who's that doctor? Who's that? What's happened with this? We haven't visited that doctor for a while. Protect your turf. Don't just, you see them drop off. Gee, Dr. Jones hasn't said anything for a while. Anyone heard anything from Dr. Jones? No, that's just bad business. The other 2 things you must have, and if these were the only other 2 things you did, you've got to have a 1-month follow-up call system. So one of the first things we put into 1 Minute Practice was a 1-month follow-up call list. So in here, you go to, where are we now, say October or September, you go back to August or July, you go to July, pull up the names of all the people who haven't been in since then. So they came in that month but haven't been in since. It's a 1-month list. So those people haven't been in, they came in that month, they missed a month, and they're still not back, so let's get that list out of your PMS. You then load that list into 1 Minute Practice. We have the consult, last consult, the first name, last name of the patient, therapist name, location, and then we've got something here that you've at least made an attempt to call them. Export the list, import it into here, or do it somewhere, but there is a list you have to be active in. Those that know my material, what's the golden script? When you make that call, what's the script? 100%. Are you 100%? If you don't learn anything, write that down. If that's all you said in that call, it's Paul from XYZ Healthcare, just a courteous call, need to know, are you 100%? Well, no, I'm actually 60%. I'm probably, what percent are they? That's the idea. Well, that's not good enough, Brian. What happened? Well, I did this and this. Well, let's organise that. See me at 2 o'clock tomorrow. We'll fix that up for you. It's simple, but why aren't... Can someone... Hands up, who's doing that at the moment? Hands up, who's doing it? Wow. There's nothing easier. That's the golden list. And you worry about marketing. If that's all you did, you will get... I'm telling you, Craig, you've done it. At least 2 or 3 out of 10 will rebook. 2 to 3 out of 10. There is no marketing system on the planet that'll touch that number. You can't get better than that. Well, you can. I'll show you one way. But typically, there's not. So everyone happy you're going to do that? If that's all you did, just do it.
Admin to do that? Or
No. Preferably the therapist, but that will depend on your utilisation rate. If I know my utilisation rate. Therapists say, I haven't got time. Well, hang on, Brian, let's look at your utilisation rate. You're at 70% here, mate. What are you doing the other time? See, it straight away, and I'm a hard-ass business owner. You've probably worked that out. It removes the chance of them sitting on their ass in the coffee room. They sit there doing nothing. What are you doing? You should be ringing up. Shouldn't you be on the phone, Brian? Okay, you've got to get into that follow-up call system. I love the expression, measurement removes argument. If they tell me they haven't got time, but hang on a minute, Brian, look at the numbers, you should be making these calls. When that gets to 90, 95%, come and see me and I'll get someone else to make the call. But until you've got that, you're making the call. And you've got to train them to make the call. So don't expect them to do it and be good at it, but give them the script, role play it, train it. And the thing, they've got to ask for the booking. Well, that's not good enough, let's make an appointment now. They've got to get good at that.
We've also found we have quite a lot of executive type clients. We find email works very well for them because then they can reply to us when they can get to us, and that's been a really good.
Use whatever media you need. I like a phone call personally, but if I've tried 3 times and I don't get them, I'll email them, I'll SMS them, we'll do something else. But can you see what I've got then? I've got a system that I can look at as the owner, and my guys will do it. When they're inputting this list, their eyes straight away go to that column and they make sure there's some names in there. Someone's making the calls. At the moment, you have got no way of knowing are those calls being made unless you've got a system in place to do it. So you've got to be able, the idea of 1 minute practice is to be able to log into this thing quickly and see, was that step done? And I go to the 1 month follow-up call list, great, they're making the calls. And if I see someone hasn't made their calls, I'll jump up and down. But you've got to have some way of knowing was it done or not. And every month the list just gets populated. You go to it, well there's a lot of people who haven't been called. What's happening, guys? Utilisation is 70%, get on it. So you've got to have that system in your business first up.
This is if they haven't been in the clinic for a month.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
But you might be 6 weeks. But typically we do it, we get to the new month and we go back, we miss a month and we say who came in here but hasn't been in since.
Yeah.
I don't care if they were discharged, Craig. They might have been fine, but I want to know, are they still fine? So don't worry about whether discharge or did they drop off. Everyone gets a phone call. Can I get moving? I'm happy to have a chat in the break because there's lots of stuff.
Is that phone call admin or therapist?
Phone call done by the therapist preferably, unless the utilisation is over 95%. It's much more effective. But having said that, let me now say this. I've got one therapist in one of my clients' businesses who is so bad at it, his phone manner is, we just can't train this kid. So we get a better conversion with the admin. So unless you're hopeless, if you know your numbers, then admin might be good at it. And there's a lot to be said for that as well. And so his wife, the owner's wife, took over the phone system. And because she's the owner, she's got an ownership in it. She does much better than that guy would have ever done. So who's get the best conversion? The numbers will tell it for you. This is the other system you need. You must have a do not attend register. Now this is a live document. This thing is on your computer all the time. The moment a person doesn't attend or cancels an appointment, straight away, and doesn't rebook by the way, so they ring up, I can't make it, no problems, but if they haven't got a follow-up booking, they've got to go onto this list. So the admin team straight away puts them on the list. One of the therapist's job every day is to check their list, to check the cancellation do not attend register. Are any of their clients on it? If so, they've got to make that call before they go home. Now, some PMS systems do this, but I'm just not sure that they're done, or that we're not certain as the owner that those calls were made. Whereas at least if I put it in here, was the call, is there a name in that first call by column? When I go home at the end of the night and look at it, that last call was done, great. Certainty. So you've got to have that in your business. So if they're the only 2 systems marketing-wise you have, the 1 month call and the do not attend register, you're in business. All right. Secret system 6, you must have checklists in your business. I'm a huge fan of checklists. You've got to have admin, owner and therapist checklists, as we said. Again, very important if you can get your admin to know exactly what they're supposed to do each and every day. If you get frustrated and you say, oh, well, they didn't do this, they didn't do that, that's your fault for not systematising it. So you've got to make sure it's on a systematic checklist. In terms of the owner's checklist, what are the things that you need to do every day? And it's looking at new patient register, go over the KPIs, make sure the data was entered daily, the key things you have to do. Don't leave anything to memory, we just can't do it. Secret system 7, the final system here, you must have 90-day goals. I'm a huge fan of 90-day goals. If you're doing 12 months goals, too slow. Great to have long things in, but you've got to have 90, and I like 90 days. You can get a lot done in 90 days if you structure it well. And it's a very important part of the system. It's also a great retention tool for your team members. Okay, so what I do, again, we talked about getting them together every month, but how important is it for you to sit down with your team and say, what do you want to achieve in the next 90 days in our business? What are the outcomes you'd like to get? What would you like to learn? How can I help you get that? Because then it stops that KPI review meeting from being a total, it's all about the numbers, and it gives them something in that meeting. What do they want to learn? What do they want to do? The key though, when you do them inside 1 minute practice or you do your own, don't just put the goal down. Make sure, so it's okay to put the goal in, but make sure you have an action step or action steps that you must do to achieve that goal. So in this case, if it's add an extra therapist to the roster, what are the actual steps you have to do to achieve that goal? So then as the owner, you go back to each of your team members and you go through, how'd you go with that? Have you done this? It gives you some knowledge that they're getting great results from their time in your business and you have some involvement in their careers. Okay, so I love the 90-day goals concept. It might be to increase referrals. If that's the case, how are you going to do it? So don't just put the goal down, make sure there's action steps for each one. And I love that with my coaching clients now. We go in and have a look, how'd you go with that? How's that gone? What's the thing you've tried to get done? So the secret 7 systems. You've got to have new patient register based on your critical success factors. What are the key steps that every new patient must get involved in? And make sure they're tracked. You've got to have a new patient register. You have somewhere to enter the data, so daily data entry. The key data, because that's going to populate your KPIs. What numbers do you want? You must have a profit and loss. You've got to know your money. You have to. You can't run a business without knowing that. You've got to know your KPIs based on the numbers you've selected to enter into your new patient register and daily data entry, and your team has to know them as well. You've got to have a marketing planner. Again, remove discretion. It's got to be systematic. And if all you've got on your marketing planner is 1 month phone calls and cancellation calls, then you're at least making an effort to do something consistently. Don't just fall then into just playing catch up with this. You've got to have checklists. You've got to know this with certainty that things are happening, and you've got to have 90-day goals. They are the exact 7 systems I take all my private clients through. That's how I ran my business. You've got to do the same in your businesses. So what are you going to do now? Based on what we've done so far, set up a new patient register. So dictate a couple of things and set up a new patient register. But oversee it with great enthusiasm. Don't start it if you're not going to be all over it. You'll waste your time. So don't get carried away. Get it tight, simple, and make sure people are following it. Formulate your KPIs and track them. Make sure your team all know them. Do your profit and loss. Add a couple of things to your marketing planner. Even just put the things you currently do that are working. And if that's all you do, to make sure it happens systematically. Start a few checklists and formulate your 90-day goals. If you do those things, you are a chance of running a 1 minute practice. You may be thinking, this is what happens now, when you get to this stage, you may be thinking, well, I've got time to create and structure all those spreadsheets. And that's a fair concern because it takes a bit of time. You don't know what to put in your KPIs marketing planner. You're not sure how to do it, which is a common problem. And this happens a lot. You've tried to put systems in, but they just fell over. Because usually you didn't know that they were being done or not, you'd know where to track it. Common thing. Solution, this is where this came from. We had this operating in our business across 7 different spreadsheets, and it was just hard to track. It was hard to follow, it wasn't up to date. So my beady brain thought, how can I systematise this and make it available on one platform? And that's where 1 minute practice came from. A couple of things to be aware of. It's not a practice management software system. You still need a practice management software system, and it will do a lot of really good things for you. Okay, so and I think 1 minute practice, it's more like the policeman of your business. It's more like the way it controls the steps are happening. It's visually checking that everything goes. So it's different from your practice management software system. Totally cloud-based, nothing to download, and it's made up of the exact same systems I showed you just then. So the new patient register, colour-coded, which I really like. Daily data entry, again, what are the key numbers? Got to know your profit and loss, but also giving you, see also it went red as it went down to the bottom. So with your P&L, if it was outside the guidelines, it went red. So you could see that it wasn't quite tracking where it should have for the business. You've got to have graphical representation of your KPIs, which it gives you. But that just comes from your daily data entry, new patient register. You've got to have a marketing planner, even a couple of things that you can log in and see those things are happening. You can even in 1 minute practice copy and use my marketing planner that we had at Get Active Physio. You can say click Paul's default plan and it'll populate there for you. I don't suggest you use it now though because there's too much in it, but you can, as down the track, use my marketing planner. Your 1 month call list. Okay, that's a no-brainer. You've got to have a 1 month call list. It's the simplest, easiest, most effective marketing thing you'll do. And as I said, 2 or 3 out of 10 rebooking rate. It doesn't get any better than that. Actually, it does. What it didn't tell you about the one that gets better than that is the cancellation do not attend register. What should be your conversion rate on a cancellation do not attend register? Those who cancelled within that day who haven't got another appointment. What should you be rebooking at? It should be close to 100, shouldn't it? So that nothing gets better than that. That's a very nice marketing. So you've got to have that in your business. You've got to have checklists which give you certainty, and you've got to have 90-day goals. Again, just for staff retention, I find those really useful. So 1 minute practice, we've launched it. Some of the people who are testing it are in the room today. They've been using it. Some people have already got on board and using it. I like Jim Rohn's expression, successful people spend money to save time. This just saves you time. It's all in one place for you. Hard work's done for you, 20 years work, and it's all there for you exactly like I do in my sold-out coaching program. Those that have done my coaching program know this is exactly the steps that we follow in that program. Some testimonials from current users. The 1 minute practice has been fantastic. It enables me to put all of my KPIs in one place. I can log in from anywhere and in a moment see exactly how work is doing. And it takes me 1 minute. And once you log into the thing, you just go through the different steps and that's done, that's done, that's done, that's done, great. Certainty is important. 1 minute practice has saved me thousands of dollars in terms of time investment, easily 5 to 10K a week in revenue from a physio owner. The red and green alerts are ideal for someone like me who is not IT savvy. We originally launched it without the colour coding, but the colour coding made a big difference to it. Because again, it points out when something's going right or wrong. It will pay for itself from a podiatry owner. Can I do questions at the end? Yeah. Love you coming to my lectures, you're tremendous. This from a Canadian physio. I can now be sure that admin staff and therapists are following my procedures. It takes me 10 minutes, this from an admin manager, it takes me 10 minutes a day to enter the information for our 5 physios and OTs. So again, keep it short. Very impressive from another owner. I now have total control of my business again. So it's a very effective program. How would you work out the value? What do you get out of the program? If you're to create these systems yourself and do spreadsheets, I've allowed 24 months, but it took us a long time. So I've just written in 20 grand as a number. But how long would it take you to create the spreadsheets and systems to do it? If you put in a colour-coded new patient register, where you just recommendations and recommended and bookings, 5 to 10 consults a week is a no-brainer for most practices, so there's $500 a week. Put in the 1 month call system in. If you just put that in, if that's all you use and you put that in, 2 to 3 out of 10, so another 5 consults a week at least. Again, $250 a week. Increased productivity because your team aren't sitting in the coffee shop. They're now making phone calls, which is important for you. My favourite one is your peace of mind from being in control. You can't put a price on you knowing, logging in from anywhere and seeing is this all happening, that's priceless for me. So we value that at least $4,000 a month, conservatively in most businesses. For you guys, ready to put in your practice now, the prices currently, which is our launch prices, are $98 Australian dollars a month for a 1 to 10 user licence, $148 for 11 to 20, $198 for a 21 to 30 user licence. Depends how many therapists you got. 1 to 10 user licence, so that's 1 to 2 consults per month will pay for your subscription. I reckon that's a no-brainer. Big things about it, cancel any time. You don't have to stay in it, so there's no lock-in contracts. You can get it. If you don't like it, you pull out of it. So there's no contracts. And I don't know what's going to happen with price rise. So we've launched this at this price and who knows where we'll go from there. I do recommend though, we do have a setup assistance service we offer. So when you register for the program, you can do it yourself. There's manuals on how to do it and there's videos on how to do it. We prefer you to watch those, do your basic setup and then have a session with us where we can take you through and just fine tune it for you. Now that's going to be $398 when it goes to full publication. We've got a half price setup session at the moment is $199 and that's optional, but we do recommend you take it up. A special bonus for those who want to join tonight. I always reward people that take action and come to events. Special bonus for joining tonight, we'll send you 2 DVDs from a business building range. So we've got DVD part 7, What is Your Health Business Worth? Buying, selling, increasing the value of your business. Or DVD 8, Health Business Success Secrets for the New Economy. So they're $125 each. You get them when you join 1 Minute Practice tonight. We'll post them out for you. So just to make again an incentive for you to join this evening. As with all my programs, money back guarantee. If you get 30 days down the track you don't like it, you let us know, we give you your money back, no problems, you'd even keep the DVDs. So it's again one of those no-brainers. So it's no risk for you to give it a go. I've done a classic risk reversal. I'm actually taking the risk that you like it, if not I'm out of pocket. We'll even refund your setup cost. So again, everything will get back if you don't like it. You may be thinking a few things. You've already got a practice management software system. You have, and you still need to keep it. But this is different than that. It's a way of tracking the systems in the business, not so much the actual appointment book or the diary or the clinical notes. You might think you don't have time to put another system in. If that's the case, you're the exact person that needs it. An hour to watch the videos, an hour with our setup guy, and you've got some way of controlling the business. If all you did was put in the new patient register, that should be all you put in first up. Just put in the new patient register, you're going to be in front. You might think, oh, I'm not a physio. Paul's a physio. We've got podiatrists, chiropractors, osteopaths. It's for any health business that needs help with these systems. You might think, oh, I'll just use Excel spreadsheets. We did it for years, pain in the arse. You lose the spreadsheet, they're not up to date. Once it's live online and all your team can log into it, it becomes their program as well. Very, very powerful part of the program. And when you add colour to it, it just changes the whole dynamic of it. Some people say, well, it's too expensive. Well, a couple of consults a month, I think it pays for itself straight away. So I don't think it is at all. But again, you've got to work out. Just putting in a straight new patient register and even a couple of checklists, if that's all you did, you'll get return from your program. Hope you enjoyed that special live presentation of how to run a 1-minute practice. Now, if you're watching this presentation on DVD, I'd like to make you the same offer I just made to the live audience. That offer involves you can get 2 free DVDs from the DVD range. DVD's part 7 of the series, What is Your Health Business Worth? Buying, selling and increasing the value of your health business. And DVD 8, Health Business Success Secrets for the New Economy. You can get those 2 presentations valued at $250 for free when you take up the same offer I just mentioned by joining 1 Minute Practice. Now, because you're watching on DVD, to join, go to 1minutepractice.com. So just go to the homepage, 1minutepractice.com, click on the Join Now tab, join up the program, and when you finish your order, write in the special comments delivery box the words DVD viewer offer, DVD 7 and 8. So DVD viewer offer, DVD 7 and 8. We'll know you watched the presentation on DVD. We'll know where you came from. We can then post out those DVDs for you. And again, if you don't like the program, you can keep the DVDs, cancel any time. There's no contracts. Look forward to seeing you in 1 Minute Practice soon.